All right, guys, welcome back. We got episode 12. 3 weeks it's been, I think.
3 weeks. I know you guys missed us, but hey, we're human too. We took a little time off for Memorial Day. Hope you guys enjoyed your holiday as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we figured we'd take the day off just like you all. So hope you all had a very, very nice Memorial Day and also remember what it was for, right?
Yeah.
Our fallen service members. So.
Absolutely. Great that we have a day to recognize that, because some people
not just about barbecuing.
Gave it all, right? So
right.
Fantastic. But we're back, and hey, we're suited up, man.
Right.
We did not, you guys waited a little longer, but now we're back. We're dressed to kill. And hopefully we're going to give you some great information today as well.
I think we got some good stuff for you guys.
We have some good topics.
Sure. I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, how about Chris? Let's start off.
Should we jump into the data? As always. All right, guys. Well, you know the drill. Living here in lovely Northern California, we're going to talk specifically about the Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties. Really interesting data here on the market. I mean, as you guys know, kind of how it's been going for the last couple, really this whole year, we've been in what I'd argue is quite a gridlocked market because of just low inventory, things like that, and of course the data is still showing things like that. So let's talk.
Almost like we sometimes I just feel like broken records. It's very similar a lot.
It's almost like when you just look at the actual numbers, you can see a trend instead of just kind of throwing darts at a board and guessing. But I don't know. Maybe we're just going to keep doing this. Maybe we're the crazy ones. Let's see. Who knows? But hey, let's we'll talk about here we are. It's June 4th, I believe. So
June 5th.
June 5th. Yes, correct. June 5th. So it's June 5th. So we just got our data from May. So we'll jump into that.
So we got a full month of May.
Full month of May, yeah. So
I'm kind of glad we waited so we had a full month instead of having that like kind of mid-month.
Yeah,
that's kind of not my favorite.
No, it's kind of an awkward phase because you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Sure,
so, but today I'm going to do it slightly differently, where I'm just going to talk about. We'll kind of give you the whole picture. I'll talk to you about the month from May to April, the difference there. We'll talk about the year to date, and then again, it's kind of a silly little metric, but it looks like we've got the first 4 days of this market versus the first 4 days of last month. But that one I want to talk about because the number is quite interesting. But here, we'll talk about May. So total for sale of May 2023 versus April 2023 was 1833. And so that's up roughly 10%, about 9.6%. Okay, sense. So slightly raised, right? Okay. Now,
May's like peak time.
Yes. So, and as you just said that, so sold, we're up almost 25%.
Ayo.
So we're at 1637 versus 1314. All right. So we're almost up 300 houses sold. And then we've got pended, which, also a data point versus in between for sale and sold. That's up about 14%, 15%. So no surprise there. Talking about May versus this year versus last year, as we know, right? For sale is down almost 45%. Okay, close to a 50% drop in the for sale, as we've been talking about, as we've been seeing. Yes, yeah, gridlocked market.
I think we spoke about it last time, but I think we'll get very much closer when we get closer to like August.
Yeah,
because that's when we started seeing change in the financing side of things.
Yes.
Very much so.
Absolutely. So, yeah, down almost 50% there, 45%. The sold is down about 23% from May 2023 versus May of 2022. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's less, though, than the previous.
Yes. Than the previous month to date that we had with April versus April of 2022.
And also, I think the difference between, that was for sale, right? Or is that sold?
That was sold.
Sold. Okay.
Yeah, so 23% less.
And the previous one was for sale.
Correct.
Is down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Both are down. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So for sale, obviously we know a lot lower interest rates on the majority of homes with higher rates. But the sold, if I remember correctly, when we did our last data point for the sold, it was closer to 40% difference.
Yeah.
So you'll notice that 40% will turn into 23 like we saw today.
Yep.
And it'll slowly get closer to where we were like year over year. So keep following us because you'll start to see, I guarantee that sold number will get closer and closer to net zero in terms of percentage change.
And let's see. I mean, we'll see. Again, We're not throwing darts at a board here. We're just looking at the data. So we'll see where the trend's going.
Based on evidence.
Based on evidence. Educated guesses. There we go.
Right.
That's all we can do, right? So, and then pended about 17% down from May 2023 of May 2022. So again, that's that kind of in between of for sale and sold. Yep. Not a big surprise there. Now, this is a fun little one, and the number is just a little surprising to me. So I wanted to talk about it. Again, we're only looking at the first 4 days of this month, so there's plenty of the month to go. So just take this with a couple grains of salt, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to see the first 4 days of June versus the first 4 days of May. For sale, not a huge difference, but it's up 16%. So there's a slight bump in the first sale in the first week, we can say half a week of June, right? Now, this is interesting. The sold is down almost 70% in the first 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So that's a little interesting. That makes me curious to see what's going to happen for the rest of the month, just because it's it's literally below triple digits. We're talking 74 houses have only been sold in the first 4 days of May, or June, excuse me.
I mean, I was looking at inventory today, just 400 to 600, because I'm looking. Yeah, I've been looking for a while, but I'm in a nice position to where I can be calm, collective. I'm waiting for the right deal.
Right.
But I was looking in that 400 to 600 range, and the actually 400 to 550, actually, to be specific, and there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Most of it's Sacramento, a little in Orangevale.
Yeah.
Hardly anything in Rockland.
Oh, of course not.
One in Auburn.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I get it. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous.
Right. And I think, it just goes back to, I think, that idea of our market's just a little gridlocked right now, very dynamic in that sense where
They're
it's
just
like
moving unilaterally. Like,
yes. Yeah.
It's kind of doing demand. It's meeting each other.
Right.
I mean, when that happens, we don't see decline in value.
And to give you more of an anecdotal, I mean, I've had conversations with homeowners recently where, they kind of gave it a try to sell the house. For whatever reason, either the house wasn't just up to the market or what have you, ended up canceling their listing. And I mean, they were just in the position where they're like, hey man, like, we don't know. I guess we're just going to wait for interest rates or do this. Like, they were just the idea of that. They didn't have such a push.
Is this a specific scenario?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the situation?
Well, the situation was essentially, I'm calling these people up. I saw that their home essentially was canceled on a listing,
so
right?
Trying to figure out why.
Essentially, I mean, this happens all the time, unfortunately, but the agent, in their estimation, didn't do quite a great job, was a little, in my opinion, brutal with trying to like almost charge them fees for canceling and not being upfront about like making it seem like she's offering to do repairs on her behalf, but then she just shows them a bill afterwards and all this really horrible stuff, to be honest. So yeah. And so, I mean, of course they're in a situation where
those are the realtors that give you and I bad news. Just in the real estate industry in general.
But I mean, they also gave us business. So if we come along and do a great job, exactly.
With adversity comes opportunity, and that's our opportunity.
But to your point,
right?
Yeah,
in a general speaking sense.
In a general sense, right? They gave us a bad rap. But so that's why you got to just have conversations with people, be upfront, be real, see if even having that relationship makes sense with someone, right? Be upfront, be honest. But long story short, they're now in a position where they kind of got burned off of that and
just kind of tainted it.
Yeah, and it sounded like they weren't in a position where they absolutely have to move, right?
Kind
where
of trying to see what they can get.
Exactly. It wasn't, the motivation wasn't through the roof where it's like, oh my God, I just got a divorce, or I've got to upsize because there's a baby on the way, or I'm moving jobs, or I'm moving out of state. Those are all things in this market right now that are, in any market really, that are really going to push things, right?
It's not really frictional. They don't have to like make a transition for a specific reason.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of tough to deal with as an agent. It's like, that's a lot of pressure to keep, especially in a market where it's like, it's kind of, you'll probably get around the price point, but a seller, there's only, the toughest part is like, there's only so much buyers can go up because the rates are
Right.
so much higher.
Right.
Like if you're dealing with $1 million home, and you have a $6,000 a month mortgage, it's like if you go up 50 grand, that's going to play a price.
Precisely. And they were in a situation where, it's like, I think in my estimation, it didn't really make sense for them at this time because, like I said, they didn't have anything that was totally 100% motivating them to move. And at the same time, it's like they weren't going out of state. They were trying to move locally, find another house. So they're moving from a locked into their home 3% to a close to 7. Right. So, I mean, I don't blame them in their particular scenario. Right. Like I said, everyone's got a different scenario. But I think in that one particular, it's something we're hearing a lot. It's a common story, I think, in this particular
It's understandable.
market. Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I was looking at actually a previous client. She reached out to me about a new loan, and she has like a 2.875. I'm like, we're not doing a new loan. I'll give you a HELOC or a HE loan, which is a second. Mm-hmm. And we're probably going to do that because she's working on finishing an ADU. Sure. Not a big loan, but we always help everyone, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking at her principal and interest payment, like her PITI on a $200,000 mortgage is only like, this is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So like $1,900. It's like, okay, yeah. I think it's actually lower than that. Let me I'm going to verify at least the P9. So if we did 200,000, sorry, I have to.
We're doing some live data right here, guys.
Good old
He's got
EP12C.
the calculator, man. Dusting it off.
GN, and then we got, let's do 2.875 GI payment. Scratch that. So $829 P&I. That's principal and interest. And then if we were to do, say, the property's worth $400,000, let's do taxes. So if anyone else wants to do this too, by the way, follow along.
Yeah.
Use a mortgage calculator online, and then also what we want to do is take the tax. So to calculate your taxes for a purchase, say for instance, times it by 0.0125, 1.25%.
Okay.
It's going to be your factor, then equals, and then divide that by 12. That's your monthly. So
12 months in the year, folks.
12 months in the year.
I'm still keeping up.
And then we got, so that's 417 plus, and then we got, so for homeowners insurance, I always use the factor 0.35% of the sales price. So 400,000 or value 0.0035 equals divided by 12, 116. So drum roll, please, everyone. 1,363 PITI.
Even less.
So that would be more than doubled now.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know about you, but you could probably afford a $1,363 a month payment. Like,
Yes.
That's pretty solid.
I would jump on that so fast.
And you're looking at like over $2,000 a month when you're like, it's just, I get it.
Yeah,
I get
right.
it. But why did I bring this up?
Oh, well, we were just
I just like doing math.
Yeah, right. No, we were just talking about the scenario of the homeowners I was talking to, where they're locked in at a 3% or something in their
That's
current
right.
home.
And that was, yeah.
It didn't make sense to move, and then being burned on a not so great realtor was an unfortunate recipe for them to probably stay put.
And then I mentioned the fact that she had one of the borrowers that reached back out to me. She wanted to do a new loan, but I told her no way.
Right. Don't do it.
We're doing it more of a second, which is getting more popular because, I mean, even if you have a 10% interest rate on your second at $30,000, you're only looking at a payment of $282 a month.
Right.
I'd much rather have that be a blended type of rate,
right?
A blended payment rather than a full new rate at like 6.75%.
Right. That doesn't make any sense.
Hey-o, that's tough. That's brutal.
Well, good on you for guiding her to, make a choice that maybe she didn't even realize was on the table there.
Here's the one thing that's been going on in the loan industry. Like, people have been trying to make it work with refinance just because they're easier to do. But what they've been making the claim, which drives me nuts, is that they've been saying like, well, the rates are closer to 7. You're looking at a 27% credit card interest payment. Well, you're looking at 27% interest on your credit card. Why don't you take some equity out of your home and pay that off? It's like, how is that at all the same?
I know.
Tell me.
I can't remember the last time I racked up $500,000 on my credit card.
So you're trying to tell, like, even if you had $30,000 in credit card debt, why would you do a full brand new first mortgage?
Yeah.
Like, maybe do but that's the problem, is that some loan officers play the used car salesman act.
Sure.
And they try and sell you on that because it sounds like, oh yeah, no brainer, 7 versus 27. Like,
Sure.
But you're dealing with that for a 30-year fixed mortgage and you just got rid of that. It's just, for me, that's upselling in the most uncool way. That is so unprofessional.
Yeah.
Not
in their own best interest rather
so
than
if
their
anyone
clients.
talks to you about like making the comparison to credit card payments, just call me and we'll figure something out, because we obviously
Walk away.
We don't want to. You do not want to be touching that.
No.
2s and 3s never happened in history. I want to remind you, in history, ever. Keep that rate as much as you can. But unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why nobody wants to sell, right?
Yes.
So it's like, it's hard to blame, but I think we'll start seeing a stimulated economy once we get back in the high to mid 5s.
Yeah.
Because then people won't be throwing up so much when they have to sell. It's okay. I mean, it's a higher rate, but it's not like you're dealing with it right now. So, but anyways, moving on to rates. Sorry about that, Chris.
No, all good. No, great combo right there.
Rates with conventional, depending on your scenario, it's going to be ranging from the high 6 to low 7s. And in government, FHA and VA, you're going to be looking in the mid to high 6s, mid to middle of the high 6s. That hasn't really changed a whole lot again. It's just staying pretty consistent. On Friday, though, however, it improved quite a bit just for one day, and it popped right back up today. I think it's because of the debt ceiling, just because they said they're going to suspend that until January 2025. So pretty much gave us some more time. The market was good. I actually locked one in on Friday. It was actually Cal HFA, and it was 6.25. The day before was at 6.625.
Oh, wow.
And my borrower was like, I mean, it's been going down. Like, should we just like see what happens next week? And I told her, I'm like, professionally, no. We're not doing that. I was obviously very much nicer than that. But I told her, like, at the end of the day, it's up to you. However, based on all the factual evidence here.
Right.
And wouldn't you agree that when the payment makes sense now, why would you want to risk the opposite effect happen to you personally?
Yeah.
She said, like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So we locked it in, and guess what happened today? Went right back up to 6.625.
Oh, I'm sure she's thanking you
and
for
I
that.
texted her, I was like, I'm so glad we locked it and stuff like that. So it's just like, my job is to not be a fortune teller, but an advisor based on all the knowledge and everything that's going on in the world that's driving where interest rates are going, driving what's going on in our economy.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But yeah, is there anything you wanted to add off of that?
No, I mean, that's fantastic. I love how you advised her on that, though. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it with rates, because you can play the game, right?
Yeah.
Like people, I mean, it was a little bit more fun to play the game when the rates were in the 2s and 3s, and it's like, oh, today's like 2.15, like let's do it now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, today's looking like 2.375, like we should probably like wait. It's like, that's a ridiculous thing to even hear now.
Yeah.
But you had time. It was there for quite a long time.
Right.
But now it's more so, the way I always like to tell it to clients is, we can play that game, but at the end of the day, my first question is this payment comfortable for you right now?
Right.
If the answer is yes, let's lock that loan in, because that's one less thing to worry about when you're going through the real estate process. Because
Absolutely.
as we know, buying a piece of real estate is one of the most stressful things you can do, especially if it's an owner-occupied property. Yeah. So lock your loan in. Don't worry about it. Don't look back. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to focus more so on the real estate side, make sure you're properly inspecting the property, talking with your agent, and I'll be along the process instructing you on whatever else I need to be able to get this loan down to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't, and you know, it's just the name of the game, because obviously the end goal is the house. So a lot of people go for the house first, looking at the house, but it just goes to show you how much more empowered you are when you just make that decision of like, okay, we're locked in. This is the number. Yeah. This is what we're working with now, right? There's no, like you said, no looking back. And obviously, to your point, if you find the right advisor, the right loan officer, they're going to do their best to make sure you can get the best, but they're also going to steer you away when, you know, when you get, it's so easy to get, time the market, almost time the rate, or time the
because this happens with even real estate and the mortgage side, especially real estate. When you're trying to negotiate, sometimes when something's been given to you, you start getting greedy, and then you start banking on it's like, is there a possibility of it doing more? It's kind of like it can apply to a lot of investments, the stock market. It's like, that's 9 times out of 10, when people think they should sell and they don't sell, they should have sold.
Yeah.
Because they're waiting for like, oh, it's going to pump up again.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, greediness is a killer. But yeah.
At that time, you're pretty much, I mean, there's almost no difference than just gambling at Las Vegas at that point with that type of mindset, rather than trying to do a smart and strategic and thought out investment. That's the point, right? So
Right.
yeah. But yeah, great.
Yeah, I moving on to that, kind of away from interest rates, but I wanted to bring up this. So we in Instagram, TikTok, you always see these investors talking about how you can buy an investment property or be a homeowner, or just pretty much do a tricky way, or I guess a creative financing approach to buying an investment property, or even buying a home for yourself. They always mention the loan types, but they never really get into it.
Sure.
So this one is one of my favorites. I'm actually looking at it for myself because it's so misinterpreted, misunderstood. A lot of loan officers don't know how to do it. They don't know how to advise on it. And real estate agents are afraid of it because they don't think they'll get paid, or it's just a big process to where it's just too daunting.
Absolutely. Well, hey, if the loan officer himself is thinking about it, that's something noteworthy, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to bring up was the FHA 203K. And I've seen this a lot on some TikToks and Instagrams, but they always just, all they say is great way to buy an investment property and hold down the road, and then FHA 203K. That's all they say.
And they don't get into what that is or what that means.
Right.
How to go about it.
First and foremost, FHA is a loan that is directed towards being an owner-occupied loan. Like, it is meant for you. It's meant to be a vehicle for you to use in order to live in that home you're financing. I want to make that clear.
Yes.
But there's a certain period of time where you can actually convert it. So I'll start with this. So FHA 203K, what's the difference between that and just a regular FHA loan? Well, regular FHA loan is that, well, minimum 3.5% down, and you can go all the way down to, let's say, a 580 credit score. Right. So that's just going to be a standard purchase. It's got to hit minimum property guidelines, et cetera, et cetera.
Great for first-time home buyers, people trying to get their foot in the door for home ownership.
Or if you don't have
maybe low on funds for the down payment side.
Right. Yeah. And it's also really great for if you're trying to have a co-borrower that maybe not occupying the property, and it's a little bit more lenient on the gifts fund side of things.
For the 203K.
FHA.
Oh, just FHA in general.
FHA,
versus convention. Gotcha.
Yeah, because FHA will also, any FHA product will follow the same sort of guidelines.
Gotcha.
Depending on if there's additional things like the FHA 203K.
Let's jump into that.
So what's not spoken about is how to actually perform an FHA 203K. A lot of people are very concerned about it. A lot of people just don't know where to start. So for one, the purpose of the loan is to purchase a home that may not be in perfect condition, at least for FHA standards. So what you can do is you look at a property, Chris takes you to go look at it, and say I'm your client, for instance. Like, hey, Chris, I really want to make an offer, but I don't think it's going to pass FHA. And you're like, actually, Sam, my buddy XYZ has he's a loan officer and he actually can do an FHA 203K. I'm like, oh, what's that? So what it is essentially, say you're trying to purchase a property for $300,000. It's not in not great of shape. It's not in terrible shape, but let's just use it as there could be holes in the walls. It could be in a pretty rough shape, right? So an FHA 203K is geared to fix that and be able to maintain that minimum down payment as well. So in that instance, if we're doing a $300,000 purchase price and say the work needed to be able to get it to minimum property guidelines.
Just for the audience, what are those guidelines if we can do a quick...
Yeah, so essentially what it's going to be is you can't have any exposed wiring. It's got to maintain heat. I believe it's at like 62, don't quote me, but it has to maintain a certain level of heat.
Okay.
There can't be any, if it's built prior to 1978, there can't be any exposed paint. And if there's actually any paint chipping, that could be an issue indicated by the appraiser. It's pretty much making it seem like there could be a possibility of a lack thereof of seal on the outside of the house.
Gotcha.
So it could cause moisture, stuff like that. So really the biggest things to be aware of is going to be minimum health requirements, like health and safety concerns.
Yep.
But here's the cool thing about it. don't need to know this. What they'll do with the FHA 203K is they'll actually do two appraisals. One will be a standard as is FHA appraisal, and another one's going to be an ARV or an after repair value appraisal. What the appraiser will do is essentially he will highlight all the things that are required to get it to an FHA standard minimum property requirements.
Gotcha.
So that will be able to outline that. And also, so starting from the beginning, say you wanted to make an offer, that's fine. But what I would also do is I would talk to a general contractor, an approved general contractor first, because that way you'll be able to know exactly how much you need to do in order to get it to at least good quality condition.
Gotcha.
It's not rocket science to get it to FHA standards. It's mainly just getting it, like this property could, probably not. Yeah, probably not. But
we've got some work being done in the plumbing, but there's some exposed hole. But the landlord's going to fix it this week.
Yeah. But anyways, it's mainly talk with a general contractor because they're going to be able to give you a breakdown of all the costs. But the cool thing is about this deal is that you only have to put 3.5% down on the total amount. So $50,000 needed to get the property to a good condition, and then $300,000 purchase price. So you can still do 3.5% down off that $350,000. So that way you can be able to make it your own,
right,
and two, put some equity into it potentially,
right?
Because standard is usually you're not the cost to be able to get a property rehabbed. It's usually going to have a little bit of equity on top of that. It's not like cost to cost. It's not most of the time it's going to increase fair market value because the market value is different than what the cost is.
Right.
And that's why fixing and flipping is such a big deal, right? If it was the same
that's how it works,
exact thing, then nobody would do it.
Exactly.
So leading into an investor, so with an FHA loan, you have to occupy the property for at least 12 months. However, after that, who's to say you go and buy a different property with, say, a conventional loan?
Yeah.
Or you refinance that property into a conventional loan. You can buy an FHA loan again.
Right.
So you could do that rinse and repeat.
Wow.
Yeah. And minimum credit score for that program is going to be 620. So there's really not a lot of barrier to entry.
Very powerful.
It's just a great way to get a property that for little money and also make your personal touches to it and also be a dual part investor. You're going to build some equity into what you did to the property. And also down the road, you could convert it into a rental after 12 months of occupancy. So it's a great way to become a first-time investor.
And I think we were talking about this earlier. You said it goes up to a fourplex if you wanted it to
1 to 4 units.
1 to 4 units. So out the gate, you can have it almost be cash flowing with some other tenants.
And here's another thing. If it's a multi-unit property, say you're buying a duplex. Let's bring it back to if we're just purchasing with an FHA loan. Because if we're doing an FHA 2 or 3K, there couldn't be tenants in there if it wasn't habitable. Unless it barely was, like, it's possible because conventional and FHA conventional has a lot less requirements, but in terms of like a rental properties, I'm sure there's a minimum property condition that it needs to be in for landlords for it to be considered habitable for tenants.
I would imagine the FHA guidelines are at least somewhat similar to that, and I don't know what those landlord guidelines would be off the top of my head at the moment.
Know that there's a lot of potential for lawsuits from the tenants, so I'm guessing
need a higher standard of living, of course.
Here's the cool thing about FHA though is that if you're trying to buy, say, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, you can use up to 75% of the total rents received from that property as income. That's a great way to bridge that gap. If you're short for actually qualifying, ask your agent to do a little rent comp, see what the rents are in that area, be able to offset some of your debt by some of that income that you'll be receiving from that investment property.
So before the loan is even set, you're saying you could use that estimated income from that rental as income that's going to be coming in. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's especially cool because it's also going to be able to actually offset your mortgage too. Not fully.
Sure.
But if you're buying a duplex and say your mortgage was, say, let's just make it simple, $3,500 a month.
Sure.
And which would be roughly around the $500,000 mark purchase price. And say the other unit's getting rented for $2,000 a month. you only have an $1,800 a month payment then.
Yeah.
Obviously, the lender can only use 75% of that on the purchase and acquisition of the property.
Gotcha.
However, it's not going to actually affect you that same exact way in the real world. And the real finance is brass tacks.
Right.
So it's a great way to do it. The only bummer about it is that, not kidding, in like pretty much all Sacramento, minus kind of the rougher spots, there's like 4 multi-units in the entire area.
Yeah.
So, it's a good one. We got one. I actually have one in contract with one of my friends from high school.
Nice.
She's married. They're lovely family. She's actually pregnant. They're rock stars.
Oh, awesome.
But they're buying a duplex right now. And we had to fight for that one. The fight. Yeah, they went over 50,000 over asking.
Wow, a lot of multiple offers and things like that.
Essentially, we brought in an offer to the point where it was like, what needs to happen in order to make sure that the open house tomorrow does not happen?
Right. Yeah.
And I looked at it. It'll comp. There's just nothing like that in the area. There's duplexes hardly sell. It's the assets should appraise, no problem.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with these short form reels, is that you can talk about FHA house hacking. And then you can just start naming other options like seller financing, standalone seconds, assumable mortgages, FHA house.
It's all this big flashy terms, and you're like, but what does any of that
that's
mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
But like, how do I do it, and how do I know if I actually can do it?
Right.
Well, for one, get you pre-approved.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then 2, once you get it pre-approved, talk to an agent.
Shop the options.
Then if you find the property, then you talk to a general contractor and they give you a bid, making sure that they're approved and correspond with your loan officer to make sure that they are or can be approved. And really from there, it's just, I take you through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. I already have your documentation. And it's just mainly just ordering those appraisals and going through the normal loan process.
Not too different from even just a single family residence and some type of other loan with that process.
And a lot of agents don't want to do it because they think that they won't get paid until all the work is completed. That is not the case. We close the loan and the real estate deal first, and then the work is done after that.
Wow.
So that everyone gets paid, and then the buyer is able to do all the property repairs with the general contractor thereafter. So
that's great. That's a fantastic tool to even think about as an agent, or just as someone to just add value to your clients.
Right.
Where if they're in that scenario, you can go, well, hey, talk to Sam. He's got some options for you.
All it takes, I mean, like when people have less information or they just don't understand a concept, they get scared.
Yes.
Or they get emotional.
Yes.
That's the telltale sign when people just frown their nose against something like really quick. A lot of loan officers I talk to, they're like, oh, FHA. Ugh. It's mainly like, you know why? Because they don't really understand it. It's because the branch manager told them it's a pain in the ass.
And that was the end of that.
And that was the end of that. It's like, okay, I'll stick with my conventional loans then.
Yeah.
Which is cakewalk. Creative financing is out there. I will give a public PSA.
All right.
Be aware of the scammer wholesalers out there. There's a lot of scammers. I caught one trying to literally have an elderly woman sign an attorney, in fact. Pretty much had her sign a document stating that he can sign any legal documentation on her behalf. You know what kind of power that is? It's like me.
Power of attorney.
I am Sam and I am also Chris.
Yeah.
Let's go get a loan. You can do anything, which is insane.
You can almost you've essentially stolen their entire identity and can impersonate and sign any document on their behalf.
Literally. Yeah.
Endless amount of trouble you can do with that.
Yeah. But there's scammers out there. There's also a lot of wholesalers or people that are gurus and they're starting classes and they're doing it all wrong. They're doing it fraudulently. So be aware of that. Or
they've done like 2 deals and then they're
it's not like in California, it ain't gonna happen, Tex. The supply's too low and the prices are too high.
Yeah.
And prices don't sit in the state.
No.
Homes don't sit in the state. And I've seen it very common in like the Midwest just because it's a little bit, or the South, it's a little bit more. You can buy a house in like Michigan for $80,000.
Sure.
So it depends, but just be aware. Seller financing is another one. It can be done. It's just it's hard to sell and it'll take a long time to close because it takes a long time to get an investor on board with it.
Right.
So
Right.
keep that in mind before you start listening to Joe DiMaggio of real estate on Instagram and saying that seller financing is super easy. I just closed 5 deals last week. No.
Right.
But
there's a lot more depth to it. But I mean, that's the nature of
it's the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah.
Attention grabbing app. That's what that's there for. But
flashy and short, instant gratification, baby.
yeah, but I just wanted to mainly bring this up to you guys, mainly because I feel like we're all in the same boat when it comes to like our money. I know the majority of us, everyone I talk to is they're just like, I am steadfast with buying real estate. And the reason why, and I think that's one of the reasons why the supply and the demand has been able to meet so easily.
Yeah.
Because people are starting to get concerned about their money in the bank and the stock market because everything's so variable. It's like real estate. You want to hold it. You want to have your tangible assets secured.
Yes.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat, and we're gonna. Or is it oars?
Row.
Yes. What's an oar?
Well, you row with an oar. That is the thing you row with. Yeah.
That's right. I knew that word was coming from somewhere. But yeah,
We're gonna row together. We're gonna make it to shore.
that's right. But yeah, comment down below if you like the suits. Maybe we should do this. More often.
Should we do suits every time?
Yeah.
I need to buy some more. I know you just went on a spree.
know.
Now I feel like I need to
It's
at
a
least
big
get
deal,
one
man.
more.
It's a big deal, man. I don't know what it is, but it's like for some reason when you're dressing like in suits all the time, for some reason, people approach you differently.
They 100% do.
People approach you differently, and
You almost approach yourself differently. I mean, you just
walk and talk
Oh
different.
man, your mental edge is just through the roof.
I know. I feel so much better. Like today, like I got a fresh shave. I got my hair cut. Like I got my suit on.
And
like,
you're just
and we got
Yeah.
our workout in today. Like
Yes.
how much better can it get?
not
like,
much.
we are-
Yeah,
yeah.
when you're just at your, you've done everything, you've checked all the boxes to be at your peak. You're just like, let's
The-
go,
the
man.
epitome
Let's
of
do a podcast.
just-
Let's do anything.
Yes, the epitome of masculinity, baby.
Exactly.
Not toxic. Professionalism.
Should we take it on home? Should we row it onto shore?
Yeah, let's do it. That's right.
All right, guys. Well,
right,
thank you for joining us. Episode 12, the dozen.
Episode 12. baby.
And what better way than to suit up? You know, we had our time off than our usual schedule.
We might have to get some jackets, like M.
At least get some maybe pins, some lapels.
That
or
would
some-
be-
that.
Comment down below if you want us to be wearing.
Donate
matching
for
suits
some
every single day.
no, we'll never mind. We'll buy them, but let us know if you want to see some of that.
Yeah, my Cash App is.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Do
no.
you have Cash App?
I have.
I feel like
I
that's
do.
like in some random like OnlyFans
I've had-
chick's bio is like my Cash App is. Where did I get? How did we get here? This is me. This is Sam. I do this. Sorry, guys. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh, man.
You know I'm right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, man.
So episode 12, we're suited up. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a great one. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. Comment below. We love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I want to hear if there's any other creative financing you've heard on the internet or social media that you're curious about. You thought it was enticing, and you want you or Chris and I to dive into it and just dissect every bit of it. Comment
Yes.
down below. We're here to serve.
Absolutely. I mean, we love coming up with topic ideas and things we think would be
We truly
valuable.
enjoy it. We do.
Yeah. So, but if you guys have anything, I mean, even if you're curious or you just have things you want us to check out or cover, we're open to the idea. We'll check it out. We'll see what we can talk about it with it. But
Absolutely.
I mean, other than that, anything else on your end?
I think that's a wrap, big guy.
All right. Well, until next time, guys, have a great week.
All right,
This is
boy.
MMcast signing out.
Later.